Hello guys, Coach Michael Lee here with another video. So confidence is not something you just believe that you are. It's something that you either are or you're not. And most of the time it comes from experience. Self-esteem comes from your past. And let's hear Jordan Peterson talk about self-esteem. And he's doing it quite complicated, I will say. But let's watch it now.
What we call self-esteem is actually obtained by establishing long-term functional reciprocal relationships. Because those are stable and reliable, that decreases negative emotion. And most self-esteem measures are primarily neuroticism, like there's extroversion in there, but it's primarily neuroticism reversed. Psychologists could do this. They could teach people that the best pathway to emotional self-regulation is through service to other people. That's a great deal for everybody.
All right, so what does it actually mean there? You know what? Let's look at this video again, but we're going to pause in between and break it down point by point. All right, so let's start.
What we call self-esteem is actually obtained by establishing long-term functional reciprocal relationships, because those are...
Okay, so what he's saying here now is that good self-esteem are based on reciprocal long-term relationships. Okay, so let's take it a little bit, take a step back, all right? So in psychology, he's a professor of psychology, so he knows what he's talking about. But there are certain things we have to think about in terms of behavioral change. Since I am a behavioral scientist, I know behavior, human behavior. And when we are going to increase our confidence and not fooling our brain that we are confident, but our experiences are building our confidence level to a certain level, that our self-esteem, which is actually based on complex situations such as social interactions with people, for example. That is a complex situation for the brain. And if you're confident in that particular area, which is quite broad, you have to have good self-esteem. And let's say now that your past has been including a lot of great conversations started by you, where you know how to communicate with people. And when you know how to communicate with people, something happening. That is something we call in the area of psychology positive reinforcement. That means that all the positive reactions you get from your competence in communicating good with other people, your social skills are really good. Step by step, your confidence level is going to skyrocket because your brain knows that the way you are communicating gives a certain amount of positive reactions, so-called positive reinforcement, and therefore you become confident. It's nothing that you believe in. It's nothing that you in some way imagine to get. No, it's something you just are, because your experience of positive reinforcement is forming your brain believe and know that you are confident, because when you're talking to people, they feel great, and therefore confident builds up. Confident, and your self-esteem is there, rocket solid and strong. So let's continue to see what he says.
Stable and reliable, that decreases negative emotion. And most self-esteem measures are primarily neuroticism, like there's extroversion in there, but it's primarily neuroticism reversed. Psychologists...
So that is also a little bit, complicated. Neuroticism reversed. What does that actually mean? Okay, so you can think about it this way. Most people can't really communicate with other people. Their conversational skills are not that good. And therefore, they receive a lot of negative reinforcement, meaning negative reactions. Maybe some people made fun of you at school when you grew up because you communicated funny, or you're trying to date women in the past, and every time you're trying to take it further, she has rejected you of some reason, and therefore that's a negative reinforcement. And then if you're adding all those negative reinforcement, neuroticism becomes very strong, because your brain is now in some way disqualifying you in terms of having a strong confidence. So your confidence level is low, your self-esteem is low based on your past experiences. You see, whatever you do, you get more negative reinforcement than positive reinforcement, and therefore you're just going to dig yourself down. That is quite sad, actually. So if we're going to make reinforcement or neuroticism reversed, that's what it means to actually get those positive reinforcement. If we can make changes in our way of talking to people, interacting with people, using the signs of likability to make people like us, not by us pleasing them, but with us being really good with other people, conversationally, where our interaction is top-notch. That is when we start reverse this neuroticism, and then suddenly we get this real self-esteem up to a higher level. So let's continue to watch what he says more.
Could do this. They could teach people that the best pathway to emotional self-regulation is through service to other people. That's a great deal for everybody.
So according to him, what psychologists could teach other people is to be a service to other people. So what does that mean exactly? Well, if you want to serve other people, most of the time a positive reaction comes back to you. So if you get a positive reaction, then that's a positive reinforcement. And because of that positive reinforcement, we start building up our confidence and self-esteem. But service to other people, what does that mean? If you really want to be good with people, if we're going to talk about the science of building relationships, whether it is a friendly relationship, romantic relationship, a professional relationship, we have to talk about relationship building theory. All right? So he's right about serving other people. Because if you want to be good at conversations where people feel great talking with you, feeling great being with you, that is when you serve them by letting them talk while you are an active listener. And genuine curiosity from your side is also needed. Genuinely, okay? You cannot pretend to be curious, you have to be curious. And that is also a mindset shift where you decide to be curious about the other person and then using the right methodology to find out a person's perspective, a person's desire, a person's want, and the past that formed his decision that he took in the past that led to where he is or she is today. You see, so there's a lot of things to figuring out if you want to be a good conversationalist and really find out things about other people, because it's not until then people will tell you things that they probably haven't told anyone else. I'm not saying that it is like secret stuff. No, it's more like no one else could ask those questions about the past that led to this and about the future, what they actually predict is going to happen and why they took decisions based on X, Y, and Z and so on. If you're good in conversation, you will figuring all that out and you're going to be very curious, you're going to ask follow-up questions, you're going to tell a little bit about yourself, and then you're going to make sure that not only that you understood them, but to make sure that they understood that you understand them. And then we're forming this lovely relationship between two people. And the likability is going to be that high. And that is what he says about serving other people. It's actually to listen to them for real and give them a chance to express themselves without you judging. All people are judging today. They think they are expert judging people without knowing anything about them. Seriously. I mean, most guys, most women also are living in this surface-based level mentality. They never listen for real, which actually is a skill that needs to be taught with strong intent, but they never really listen for real, that takes the conversation into depth where things matters, and then we can have a real interaction. But if you are going to talk about stuff on the surface-based level, you will never be good at talking with other people. You will never be the person that's going to be so likable that your self-esteem is going to be at top-notch, because you know that every time you talk to a new person, every time you talk to an interesting person, every time you talk to that beautiful girl walking down the street, you know that you can make them feel really good when they're talking with you. If you can't do that, then you will not have that confidence and your self-esteem will not be that high. There's another clip I want you to see as well, all right? So let's move on to the other clip and then let's break it down fast also.
Confident men are not obsessed with impressing women. They don't feel the need to perform for approval. Instead, they're going to focus on actually building a genuine connection. Their sense of self-worth is not dependent on that external validation. They're secure in who they are, which allows them to prioritize genuine connection over trying to win over some sort of approval. By focusing on creating a meaningful bond rather than showcasing achievements or status, they're going to signal emotional maturity and authenticity to the woman that they're talking to, qualities that naturally foster attraction.
Okay, so what Courtney and Ryan are saying here is actually quite true. Most confident men have a goal when they're talking to people, and that is to learn something from the other person. It's not so much about, I make a conscious decision to not say so much about myself and I just want to create connection. Well, sort of, but that is a little bit too easy to say. The mission for you, rather, is to actually find out something about the woman you're talking to. And you have to tailor your questions to come into depth to find that out. And there are a series of questions you can ask, series of topics that you really want to find out about the person. What is her dreams? What is her hobbies? What is her passions? What is the daily routine that she has that you value so much? Why does she value that so much? There are so many things to talk about as long as you're going down to depth. And in order to get to depth, you need to be listening. Listen, listen, listen. And then once you hear something that needs more information, take that and then start bringing it down under the surface and start talking about things that actually matters. That creates emotional connection that leads to attraction, sexual attraction, and real relationships. If you want to date and attract women, if you want to be doing it professionally, same thing there. But instead of sleeping with them, you probably want to make business with them. And people want to do business with other people that they feel good being around. We tend to trust and feel safe with people that understands us. If you know how to have great conversations that goes into depth, you know how to make a person understood. You see, you make him feel seen and all that. And that is going to be a very, very good foundation to build on in terms of business, professional relationships, and even friendships. So take that with you guys, and I hope you like this video. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.